Welcome to Watch More Football. We're back again to discuss the Premier League fixtures and any other fixtures across Europe involving the Premier League teams. You're watching us on the Genreverse Sports YouTube channel, so please give that a like and a subscribe if you can. We're on every week on there, and there will be more sports shows and other features coming on there in time as well. But either way, we'll be on there every week that there's football being played. My name is Cam Clark. I work for LRMonline.com. I'm one of the senior editors over there, so please check that out as well for all your entertainment news, interviews, reviews, all that sort of stuff. We also have the same stuff on the main Genreverse YouTube channel, so please subscribe to that if you're looking for any YouTube videos of reviews, reactions, all that sort of stuff. As I said, I'm Cam. We've got Mick, we've got Ryan, we've got Dave. The four of us are back again to discuss the fixtures. So just getting straight into it, guys. We're going to start off with the Champions League fixtures, which happened starting on Tuesday night, which was the day after we recorded last weekend. So just talking through all our teams and what had happened. The kind of main focus points, if we like, for the Tuesday night, I think there's not much we need to say about Manchester City because they were already through and they won again, even though they had a little bit of a scare, but kind of doesn't matter. No one cares except Man City fans. We've all got on to the Newcastle game in a second. It's also worth noting that another British team, if you like, Celtic, get knocked out of the competition, knocked out of Europe again. And that Brendan Rodgers is...
Can you say that with a straight face?
Yeah, I can.
Can we just point out that Cam is not wearing a Celtic top as well, by the way?
No, please look at the badge. This is in no way a Celtic top. No, I don't like the Amora Rangers, and that might be crazy for somebody with a Scottish accent, but there you go. So no, I'm quite happy to see them getting binned out of Europe again, because one of my friends was adamant this is the year they were absolutely going to go through, and Brendan Rodgers was going to finally deliver in Europe. Not he failed again. Anyway, on to more important things. Newcastle PSG. Newcastle got absolutely robbed in this game. It's as simple as that. They got robbed. Does anyone disagree?
No. I was fuming. I was ready to go football for you.
I'm still bitter about it now, but you've just got to get on with it. Yes, it would look like we got battered, do you know what I mean? But defended really well, and to lose it in that manner, to lose the 3 points in that manner.
They're so tired as well, because they've got the same 11 players that have to play every game at the moment, so it just felt like they had earned that 3 points.
Of course they did.
And then they got a penalty, Go for it, Ryan, sorry.
Yeah, I said Livramento was the best player on the pitch for a lot of that game, and he's the one who ended up giving it away, which is a bit of a sore one as well. Yeah,
it's a sore one, because I think... ultimately, they got a penalty, or Paris Saint-Germain got a penalty for it hitting Livramento's arm. It absolutely did hit his arm, but I don't think I saw one single commentator or media outlet or even rival fan turn around and say, that should have stood.
Unless they were an Arsenal fan.
It was rubbish, Apart from
that,
because
fans defended you.
There was Arsenal fans actually defended us, although there was some of them. See, if you had helped us when we were getting on about refs, and you're like, it's a completely different situation. The point is, after the Arsenal game, everybody disagreed about what happened. It was a subjective decision, which is completely different from this, where almost everyone agrees it was a bad one. So
from this subjective decision, whether they weren't sure whether it mattered that it hit his hand or not.
I mean, it is, I guess, a subjective decision again, but I think when we're looking at the rules, we're thinking, well, they've went over the criteria that were involved in whether that was... And basically the criteria that was used ultimately here was that his hand was in an unnatural position, which I think is rubbish.
It's not. Didn't it?
Because you can't
this is what I was going to say.
Running with your hands. So he was in literally mid-run, and as this arm got forward, it hit his knee and hit his arm. Where could his arm have possibly been?
Last season, at the end of last season, the rule was brought out that as of this season, referees are to not give a penalty if the ball is hit off a body part, then goes onto his arm.
Well, I'll correct
And-
you on that, Mick,
and it
because
doesn't
in
go
the
towards the
Champions
goal.
League, apparently it was a guideline, not a rule.
Yeah.
Well,
It
yes,
was
sorry,
put in
a
as
guideline, yes.
Yeah.
There was a guideline.
So,
But then the exact same thing happened the night after in the Arsenal game, and the penalty was not given.
which was the right decision. It was the right
Which is
decision.
the right
again.
decision.
Yeah.
So that referee for me in the PSG game had an absolutely brilliant game.
That's the
The
thing. He had a
PSG,
really good
he had a brilliant game, and he stuck to his guns, and in the last
Until that
minute, he
moment.
crumbled. He
And all he had
bottled
to
it.
do was look at that when they asked him to come over and go, that's not a penalty. And we would have probably been all going on about how it was the greatest performance we've seen from a referee in years. But he bungled it badly.
When you watch it, he went to the camera to have a look, and he looked at it for about 15 seconds. And he only looked at two angles. He didn't look at that angle from behind the goal, which showed it clearly hit his chest and onto his arm. So
I think it was his knee.
I think it was his
chest.
It was his chest.
Knee,
Chest and
arm,
arm.
did it not?
Yeah, so
Something
it's
that.
like
It hit two body parts before it hit him.
he did not look at that camera angle. So
Well, this has been our chance to moan about it, but unlike Arsenal fans, I don't want to still be going on about this.
Yeah, but
4 weeks later,
it's gone now.
Rivalries with PSG because it's
All
gone.
I have to say
It's
is-
done. That's it.
all I
It
have to
makes
say
the
is
last
it will.
fixture really tasty, Will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It'll
we'll
be
talk
a
about
bit
that
pit.
a little bit when we get to the previews because the next
It'll be a
fixtures
bit
are
pit.
soon. aren't
Next
they?
week.
They're like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's
Next
not
week.
next week, is it?
It is
They are
next week.
next
It's a week on Wednesday. We'll play AC Milan.
So
The 13th.
midweek fixtures, then the weekend fixtures, then
Then
Champions League again. Right, okay. So we'll preview that next week then because we'll have time before
It'll
we get to that.
it'll be a bear pit. St James's Park will be bouncing because we know we
You're
have
right.
to win. If you think it was good against PSG when we beat them 4-1, it'll be 10 times that.
They said that again about Goodison Park against Man United. Does that mean Mafia was going to have an overhead kick 2 minutes in?
Maybe.
Put the bet on, Ryan.
It's a different situation, I think.
This is Newcastle, not
I
Everton.
would like to think, but yeah. Moving on to the Wednesday night games, and Kelly, you can move on to those fixtures. Obviously, Arsenal were basically already through, but they absolutely scudded Lens 6-0, so they absolutely made sure of it. It was a pretty good performance, but it was.
I'm just disappointed it didn't get to 10. They were 5-0 up in the first half.
Yeah,
it was
would
one of
say-
those games. It was fine for them to rest players, though. To be fair,
Yeah.
They didn't rest players. That's the
No,
thing.
they didn't, which is a bit silly of them, but
mental. Yeah.
yeah. Well done, them.
The other game, was there another game on?
Yeah.
No, I don't. See, I don't know.
Don't you get in that?
No,
that was great.
There was
Yeah,
one
that was
of
good. Yeah.
It was 3-3,
So, Ryan, that was a bit. It was maybe my favourite game to watch of the Champions League fixtures because it was exciting. But Galatasaray, Manchester United 3 each. It was exciting.
Yeah.
It was a good game to watch as a neutral. It must have been horrific to watch as a fan because the quality of football, no one was defending. It was just basketball.
There's no midfield. That's what happens when there's no midfield.
It was. Yeah, it was chaos. It aged me about 10 years watching it, to be honest. I've got to say, even though we're bottom of the group, I've really enjoyed all of our games in the group stage this year because they have been fun to watch. Even if I wasn't expecting us.
That's fair enough.
It's played out.
Game.
Yeah, I mean it's played out exactly how I thought it was going to play out. But if you take each match on their own, they've been good watches. It's not like with the form team in the Premier League grinding out shit 1-0 wins against relegation fodder.
I could say that about Newcastle.
I'd sooner watch us
Not
lose
won
4-3,
every game,
6
but I
times
enjoyed
than
watching the
1-0.
games we lost. We were competitive.
when you think, Ryan, in 5 games, you've had 26 goals in your game.
Yeah, it's
In your
ridiculous.
games, that's unbelievable.
But yeah, you're right, Cam. It was a complete lack of quality. There was just no sort of thought, and 2-0 up after 20 odd minutes. We've been here before. We don't know how to calm the game down. Don't know how to sort of take the sting out. We just sort of kept bombing forward. And I'll I'll go into a bit more detail on that later.
On the
but
weekend,
it was very symptomatic of just how United have been this season. There's not really been any sort of structure or plan, and against half decent teams, it
and looking
comes back to bite you.
What's next for the team, both new, because Arsenal and City, they're both through. It's done, right? So, but for Newcastle and Man United, they both still theoretically have a chance at this point to qualify. But I think that's a bigger achievement for us, given the group, we're in the group of death, compared to when you look at your group, Copenhagen and Galatasaray. Okay, no one expected you to beat Bayern Munich. You didn't either. They're a good team.
Yeah.
But you did expect yourselves to fall in comfortably, probably in the second spot there and qualify.
I mean, like I said, when the draw was made, I came out right in the group chat and said we're not going to make it through because we're going to get battered by Bayern both legs.
We're
not
going to win in Turkey. Yeah.
We're not going to win in Turkey. We might beat Copenhagen both times. But yeah, I wasn't confident, even though realistically United should be getting through that group. It's just not where the team is at the minute to be able to do that.
Well, anyway, we'll talk about the Champions League, a little bit more next week, because we'll preview what needs to happen for the final games and everything like that. So we'll come to that. But on to the Premier League fixtures for this week. We'll start off with the Saturday fixtures, although I'm sure you said earlier on there wasn't any Saturday fixtures again this week.
Might as well not.
Bizarre reason.
There's never any games on at 8 o'clock at a Saturday. I don't know.
There's just that one game. Yeah.
Just one. Yeah, there was one important one. Anyway, I'll just talk through quickly on some of the results, and if there's anything you want to say about any of them, carry on. But Arsenal, I would say, it doesn't look so comfortable winning 2-1 against Wolves, but I watched most of that game and I think it was pretty comfortable most of the time. I think Arsenal took their foot off the pedal a little bit in the end, and that's how Wolves come back into it, but really wasn't so much of an issue. Any comments from anyone on that one?
No, not really.
No, I agree.
Yeah. It was an expected win, I think, even though Wolves are doing quite well.
They've been a bit better lately, but I think we all expected
they've been all right. They've just been hard done by, haven't they? I think we've been playing well.
Yeah, it's hard to expect anyone to go to the Emirates and get a point at the moment. Arsenal's, absolutely title challengers at the moment, so they're going to win the majority of their games at home against even better teams than Wolves, to be perfectly honest with you. Brentford beat Luton through 3-1. I kind of was hoping for Luton to do something spectacular, but
away from home,
it was a pretty comfortable one for Brentford in the end.
I was expecting that one to come through. Yeah.
Burnley absolutely smashed, and I think it's worth talking about this one a little bit. Burnley absolutely smashed Sheffield United 5-0. A lot of people said it was a really big win for Burnley. I am going to state that I don't think it was in any way a big win for Burnley. I think it was just in the context of the two lowest goldfish in the league. They need to do more than beat each other, and Burnley haven't shown anything yet that says to me they can get points against other teams. Sheffield United were also awful, and Burnley just blew them away. And possibly you would say at this moment in time, Sheffield United are the worst Premier League team that we've had since Derby many years ago. So is it that impressive that Burnley beat them 5-0? I'm not so sure it is.
I think scoring 5 goals is always very impressive.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
5-0 is impressive.
We done 8.
I think,
we're a Champions League team. We're Champions League teams. But this is like... It technically is a 6-pointer. Do you know what I mean? And 5-0 against them, it is a good result for them.
It was so good.
It could kickstart them a bit.
We now have our first sacking of the season, because today, as we're recording this, the manager's been Heckingbottom's been sacked as Sheffield United manager. So
has it been confirmed? Has it?
I don't think.
I didn't think it had been. Had it?
Cam's confirmed it.
Well, put it this way. Sky Sports News can't confirm it, but he wasn't taking training today. Training was cancelled. The press conference was cancelled. him and his assistant, who Stuart McCall, both were sent home. They buggered off. They went home, and the rumour is they're in advanced talks with Chris Wilder to return. So what does that tell you? They just haven't made the announcement yet. That's all. They haven't made the announcement yet to say it's official. He's gone. He's gone. She don't come back from that. What does he do? Turn up the next day and take training again? No, it doesn't happen.
Do an Adam Wingins in the car park
to do it, or is this the right call for them to make, or should they have done it earlier or stuck with him?
I think it.
Dave,
probably...
you think they had to do something?
Yeah. Because for crap. They're not going to get anywhere, are they? It's nice to see a manager last this long. It's nice to see no manager sacked before.
I mean, they can't say they never gave him a chance, did they?
Exactly, yeah. Because how many games in are we?
Like 14 or?
Yeah.
15, 14.
Normally we've had about 3 or 4 seconds, and that's just from Chelsea.
Normally, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually been surprising we haven't had any this year for a long time, but you kind of felt like this one was coming the last couple of weeks because they've just been... I don't think it's so much the fact that they're losing, it's that they're getting smashed by everyone.
Yeah, there's nothing about them really, is there? And I think, Saturday was a big sort of, a big evidence of that. Burnley, I think it's a decent win for them because it's the first time Company's sort of style of play has worked in the Premier League for him, and it's their first win at home all season.
That's good playing a championship.
I think sort of Sheffield United have just sort of chucked in the towel. A lot of their players, McBurney elbowing 2 different players 10 minutes apart to get sent off. It's just, that's you just sort of jumping ship, really. I think. I don't really see that Chris Wilder's going to fix anything, but Paul Heckingbottom's out of this definitely.
I think they're going anyway, no matter what happens. But if they can bring somebody in that can make them hard to beat and get the odd win here and there to keep the fans from just pure misery for an entire season, I think that's probably worth it in the end, even if they don't stay up. Because it just looks the impossible task at this point, doesn't it, to stay up? I mean, they're pretty much where we were when Eddie Howe took over, but they don't have Eddie Howe, and they're not as magnificent as Mr. Howe is. So
yeah, exactly.
Sounds like Big Sam's music, that does.
Big Sam's music. Hey, he's coming in. It's Sam Allardyce.
Who knows what he could do with more than 4 games?
You can imagine him with a megaphone at the side of the ring shouting on Earthquake and all that sort of stuff. I'm old, so back in the 80s we're talking about here.
Yeah.
People are probably like, who's that? It was WWF in my day.
Yes. Now WWE.
Get beat 1-0 off Everton, and possibly one of the worst games I watched highlights of this weekend. It was pretty dire.
Yeah. I totally switched off when I was watching that.
Both teams.
Yeah, likewise.
I think the effort was there. The effort was there for both teams. It wasn't as if it was lackadaisical. Everybody was running about, full-blooded tackles, but the quality, they'd fight, they'd get the ball back, and they'd pass it into just nowhere, and then suddenly they're facing.
All I can say is I hope Everton play like that on Thursday night.
Well, if you look at their last couple of games, the best game that they've played, but it's not that surprising when you think about it, was against Man United, and they get scudded 3-0. They haven't actually. They've been in a
but that was only for half an hour.
Yeah, I know. And after that, the game was finished anyway. But it was a funny game. But they really didn't play that well against Forest. But the problem was Forest played worse.
Yeah, I think part of it was they were both missing their first choice strikers. Calvert-Lewin was injured again. A 1 year's out for quite a few months for Forest.
Yeah.
I thought, aside from his goal, Dwight McNeil had a really good game. And he should have scored in the first half, apart from a good goal on clearance.
He was the best player on the park for sure.
Yeah,
I think.
But yeah, just real lack of quality, and I don't think Steve Cooper's going to be far behind Paul Heckingbottom, to be honest.
And then we've got Newcastle Man United, which was a big game on Saturday night, 8 o'clock Saturday night UK time. Don't know what time it was on in the US. Depends where you live, I guess. But to be honest, and I'm going to be truthful here, it kind of went the way everyone expected, didn't it? Really, you know, was there anybody really? I mean, there was some. We were watching some funny videos of Man United fans that were getting overexcited, but people do that about their own team. Oh, we're going to stuff these this week, you know. Let's hope.
But it's always the same ones. It's always the same ones that do it every game for Man U, and then they're sitting there at the end of the game.
The people that watch them, that's what they're watching it for. They're watching for that excitement at the start and then the tears at the end. They want that. So
it's what their entire sort of YouTube presence is based on. So I don't think you can really take any of that.
And it's all focused on just that team, isn't it? So like it's not like something you do where we're trying to take maybe we've got our own biased views, but we're also trying to take a balanced approach. We don't all agree with each other sometimes, but everybody there's either a Man United fan or an Arsenal fan or a Newcastle fan. Every team's got them, these channels, and you know they do their job, but it's not something I would particularly want to watch. I'm not interested in what they kind of say after the games, I have to be honest, but that's just me. I think it was a comfortable win for Newcastle United. It could have been more than one goal.
Should have been.
And I don't think the story really is. I think the Newcastle part of this story is that with the same 11 players that played against PSG and played against Chelsea, and should have won all 3 games, won 2 and drew 1 in the end. I think was how well they done across those 3 games, knowing that they had no substitutes or anything like that. And just maybe a couple of words worth saying about young Lewis Miley and Tino Livramento, 17 and 21, and in all 3 games the 2 of them were absolutely. I'm not saying other people weren't necessarily better than them. The PSG game probably not. Tino was the best
in all 3 games as well.
I'm not sure he had such a good. What was it against PSG? He struggled a little bit. It was one of the games in the last few weeks where he had to. I think it was maybe the PSG game where he struggled a little bit creatively, but I think.
But he was an absolute menace against Chelsea and an absolute menace on Saturday as well.
Very good player again. Slightly older at 23. And it's strange to say this, but I kind of expected from Gordon there. Maybe that's the sign of where he's kind of got to, that he's kind of become
he's been outstanding
almost. You know,
he's been outstanding.
The crowd love him, and he seems to love the club as well. There seems to just be this connection between him and the fans that happened this season, and it's just, you know.
I want to put it there that the way Gordon's playing, we haven't missed St. Maximin in the slightest.
He's more effective than St. Maximin, to be honest. He's maybe not as fun to watch, but he's
got an end product. It's not as fun. He's got an end product.
We all love to watch Saint, but you know, despite that, he's a very good player, and I'm very happy with kind of how he's doing this year. But Lewis Miley at 17 looks as if he'd been playing for years, and he looks like he's literally the same age almost as my boy. You know, and he looks like a young boy, and it's absolutely crazy to think this guy's played Chelsea, PSG, and Man United, and could have won all 3 games.
What a player he's going to be in the future. Yeah, he's got a proper footballing brain on him.
So I think that's the
next Billy Gilmore.
Well, you know, that's the thing. I mean, I think Gilmore can still make it, but I think it's not quite developed as fast as I thought he was going to, you know, once he went to Brighton, you know, which is a perfect place for him to play. But
he's getting there now.
I think Gilmore, like, he's got a good head on him, but he's just too small. I think he still looks like a 12-year-old.
The thing is, Lewis Miley, he's quite big, Lewis Miley.
Yeah,
he's just skinny because he's not grown yet. He's not grown up yet, kind of thing. Hits the gym in a few years' time. It's too early for him to do it yet, and he'll be like Bellingham or something. Like Bellingham was dead skinny when he started, and look at him now. He's like putting on decent muscle mass.
He's big as Joe Linton. He's big as Big Joe in the middle of the park.
Maybe not as big as Big Joe. Anyway, kind of enough on about Newcastle, because I guess we will like to talk about Newcastle because, you know, there's 2 years Newcastle fans here, and we're playing well at the moment. But I think the bigger story here, and certainly what most media has been covering, is the actual downfall of Man United, and specifically how Man United could be so poor in that game. Yeah. And I know you're going to talk a little bit in a minute I'll let you guys all say your piece, but I'll just got to say, and you can testify this, I've been saying Rashford, I've not liked him for many, many years. And last year he kind of proved me wrong by having his best season ever. And I was kind of like, all right, maybe I was wrong. Maybe they were right. Fuckies. I was right. Rashford. He had one good season last year. He started scoring a couple of goals when he was young and a better team. Last year he had a good season because everything was going well. And when everything's going well, Rashford's fine. But he's got a very poor mentality. When things aren't going well, he goes down, and he goes down big time. And when he does, he's an actual fucking liability in your team. There, I've said
half
it.
Half of that team are like that.
20 million for him, and as far as he's 300 odd grand a week, I wouldn't give him 30 grand a week. And that's my honest opinion.
There's only 2 players you could pick out of that team on Saturday night that are trying their best and done well, and that's Luke Shaw and Maguire.
Yeah, Sean Maguire. Yeah.
And they were getting absolutely battered because they had absolutely no protection off anyone else.
Because Onana didn't do anything wrong. I don't think Onana made a mistake the whole game, really, did he?
Well, there's a first.
I know, but if you're going to criticise him when he does make mistakes, you have to say, I don't think you put a foot wrong in that game. He had no chance for the goal. Absolutely no chance for the goal.
There was a couple of wayward kicks. And stuff, but who doesn't do that? So who doesn't?
He's supposed to be sort of breaking the lines with his passing, but nobody is ever offering him anything, so he's got to lump it long. And you're not going to hit anyone doing that.
And I guess that kind of leads us on to what you want to say, Ryan. Since you're a Man United fan, we should kind of open it to you. And there's obviously some stats you want to look at. So, Producer Kyle, if you could bring those stats up, and so we'll talk about it a little bit.
I think the main difference is Newcastle have obviously had loads of injuries, which has been well documented. United have had quite a few, although it's getting better. But all anyone talks about with Newcastle in terms of the injuries is not the drop-off of quality or the disruption. It's just how knackered everyone is from playing 90 minutes every couple of days. Whereas United, the conversation around the injuries has been about chopping and changing and the lineup not being consistent, and therefore like the patterns of play don't come through. But that's just good coaching. Like, it doesn't matter who comes into Newcastle's team, they're still going to play the same way. They might not be the same level as the guy they're coming in for, but they're still going to play the same way. Whereas any player who comes into the United team, we've got to move another 3 players to make room for them. And you see so these are the sort of average positions of the players on both sides, and sort of their average sort of passing routes. And Newcastle have got this really nice compact shape. Everyone is working for each other. Everyone is making neat little triangles, giving someone an option. United are all over the place. You've got so number 39 is Scott McTominay. He's supposed to be playing as a box-to-box midfielder, picking the ball up from deep, joining the attack, linking those two things up. He's out on the right wing, even further ahead than Rashford. You've got 3 players. You've got Mainu, who's supposed to be the sitting midfielder. You've got Martial and you've got Bruno, all sort of sat on top of each other outside the box. And then Garnacho's, completely isolated. Because there's no midfield, Newcastle are getting on the ball, so the fullbacks can't get forward and support the attack. There's just nobody is helping their mates out, to be honest. Nobody is, if Onana's being pressed into kicking it long, nobody is thinking, right, well, whoever gets on the end of that is not going to be able to pluck it out the sky. He's going to have to knock it on somewhere, so I've got to be there to pick up the second ball. Nobody's doing that for United, but every other team seems to have that, no matter what level they're playing at, and that's the main thing that's wrong at the minute.
And how do you? What's the answer to that, though? I'm not saying that you're going to come up with the answers if any time.
For a start, it's just kicking some arses, to be honest. Like, getting the basics right that you should be learning when you're 7 years old.
Here's the thing: every time that happens at United, right? Every time that happens, like for example, when they started losing this year, there were rumours coming out, and this always happens. There was rumours coming out for the players that Erik ten Hag had worked them too hard during the pre-season window, and that they were a bit overtrained. Does that look like an overtrained super fit team to you. I feel is that every time things aren't going well, the players all kind of get together, they release stuff and they all stay, and the manager changes.
I'll be honest, the pre-season this year was an absolute mess, and it was an absolute mess because of all the commercial commitments. So we had split squads, we had games 2 days in a row, we had going from Texas out to the west coast and then
Newcastle.
back over to the east, then going back over to the east coast rather than picking one place in the States to use as a base and going out from there. It wasn't a great pre-season, and obviously there was delays in getting the likes of Hoyland and Anana in, but it's basic effort. I think McTominay is getting a free ride because he's coming up with goals, but tactically he's not the answer in that midfield, and he is a useful goal threat, but he needs to be a useful goal threat in the last 15 minutes of a game that we're chasing, not as a platform to build from.
He's not good enough to start for Man United.
No, and he's not performing the box-to-box midfield role, which is that role that he's covering for Eriksen or for Mount. He's not performing that at all. And going back to Wednesday against Galatasaray, all the United players were going we should have got another goal. No, we were 2-0 up. We didn't need another goal. We needed to calm it down and lock down the game for a little bit. Same as at Copenhagen, we couldn't last 5 minutes from Rashford getting sent off to getting into half-time at 2-0 up. And that's the issue rather than...
You keep getting overrun in midfield. But, I mean, I don't know if you noticed that Alan Shearer only done his analysis and match of the day, and he kept pointing out how Newcastle kept doubling up on your fullbacks, and every time Garnacho did start to track back eventually, but Rashford just would walk, and every time you'd have Livramento and Gordon versus AWB on his own, basically, and the central defenders, because even the midfielders aren't tucking in to protect them as well, and then it would go over the right, and the same thing would happen. It's just not working hard.
I mean, there's a few selection decisions that have been odd. So I don't know why Dalot played on the left when we had Reguilon on the bench, to be honest, because Dalot is the inferior right back, and we've got a left back who, when he's been fit, and Reguilon has actually been pretty good this season. And Dalot had an absolute nightmare all game. He just wasn't in control at all.
Did you not have any free centre backs to play Shaw out there and have another centre back come in?
Well, I think the idea was Shaw offers a bit of the passing that we're missing from Martinez, but if we can't get any sort of settled possession, there's no point in having that passing.
Yeah.
But equally, there's no point having Shaw running down. Yeah, there's no point having Shaw running down the wing if there's no one supporting him. And that's the thing is, whenever any of our players were getting the ball, there was no one within 10 yards of him to pass to, and you can't get a foothold in the game like that.
I mean, it certainly doesn't displease any of the three of us that there's tough times at Man United, because for my entire life you've won basically everything. So I've no issue with seeing you having a bad run. Although when I was younger, Man United weren't exactly that, but you just seem to get through a cycle just now where no matter what you do, it doesn't work.
I was having this discussion on Reddit the other day. If you took the name Man United out of the equation and you looked at our last 10 years, any club would actually be really happy to have those 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you then add in the fact it's Man United, you add in the amount of money spent, and it starts to look a bit bad. But it's, it hasn't been an absolute disaster.
I think it's mostly the money, to be honest, because you've outspent Man City.
We haven't spent the money well at all. We haven't spent the money well at all, and it's been a big crash from being the top dog for 20 odd years, my entire life basically, to just being another club for the last 10 years. And that's where people are sort of, a lot of United fans are still struggling to recalibrate that, even though we've seen it. Yeah, even though we've seen it, it's the same cycle every 2 years.
And it can happen to any team. Look at Liverpool, through your good spell, they were pretty crap, and yet prior to that they had been the big dogs. So
I think even despite that, I don't see a lot of value in getting rid of Ten Hag at the minute still, because it's still, the players are letting him down. There's no way he's coaching the players to be that open and that shapeless. and we sack him, we bring in, like I've seen Carlo Ancelotti's name linked recently. We bring him in, and he might tighten things up and get a tune out of them for a little bit, but we're hopefully going to start a rebuild, in 2056 when Jim Ratcliffe's head in a jar finally buys Man United. we need a forward-thinking manager in place, and if we're going to, the only reason I think would be good to sack Ten Hag during the season is if we had another young forward-thinking manager.
There's somebody sitting there available.
He could have if he could have a free hit for 6 months to assess the squad, go he's shit, and then once, hopefully in the summer when the new structure is in place. Well, yeah, but then hopefully we'd have that list when the new structure's in place, and we could actually start building.
The problem is you can't get rid of any of the players you want to get rid of because they're on so high wages. No one will match the wages.
We could if we just didn't care about the
world.
If we didn't care about the balance sheet, we could just, literally get rid of half the squad and rebuild, but we wouldn't then be able to spend £200 million in a summer.
I'd be happy.
It is exactly what we need.
That's the kind of people that we need. Like Newcastle have done, shot them in a lower end of the market and building a structure of young, exciting
It's exactly
players,
what we need, but literally nobody at the club, nobody in the media, nobody in the fan base has got the appetite for the sort of
no one's going to
gritty couple of years that it's going to take. I know, nobody's got the appetite to go through what Chelsea are going through, but when it finally clicks for them, they're going to have a brilliant squad. And I know they've spent a shitload of money as well, which they can afford. But they're trying to do the same thing. They're trying to completely rip it up and build it from scratch, and it's going to take some time to get it somewhere good. But it is going to be worth it in the end, I think. But nobody at United has got the appetite for that, and that's the problem.
You mentioned Ancelotti, but do you really think Ancelotti would leave Real Madrid for Man United at the minute?
All I've seen is a report saying that I don't think he's going to leave in the season.
I think it's all bullshit.
Yeah, it would only be if Real Madrid decide he's leaving. If he did decide he's leaving, then
he's got an open offer for the Brazil job. I don't see Ancelotti come to United at all. It's just like that's the sort of name that's being linked as a sort of firefighter, and we don't find that we can firefight and we can rescue top four this season. But what's the point? We need to completely start from scratch.
That was only a couple of weeks ago when the media were going on about it all. That was Zidane was mentioned. Then Zidane came out and was like, no.
And again, Zidane has only ever done it at Real Madrid. Knocking a bunch of heads together, a bunch of superstars. He's not built a team. He's got a team playing, but we still need to build a team.
Yeah.
And when you ask him about it, he says he would only go to a club that's got a chance of winning things, and that quote is the code for me. I'll only go to a club that I can come in, get them to play well, don't have to worry about signings and try and win a trophy.
And that's not what United. That's not what United need right now.
Let's move on to the Sunday games because there was goals on Sunday. I mean, every game was just goals, apart from the one that they show, or one of the ones that they showed on British TV. Any Americans could have got your choice of game, but no. The Premier League decided that they would show us West Ham versus Crystal Palace, which was okay, but it was certainly the least exciting of all the games that were shown on Sunday. So if we just go through them quickly, Bournemouth drew 2-2 with Aston Villa. I don't know if you've seen the highlights, but it was a pretty decent game.
I watched probably about half an hour of it. I was chopping and changing through the 2 o'clock kickoffs. I watched probably about half an hour of it from the second half, and Bournemouth looked good again. They looked a decent team again.
I think they're really come around since the victory against us. It seems to have turned them around.
And I just switched it over probably about the 80th minute. Well, maybe a little bit less. And it was a 90th minute equaliser from Watkins, wasn't it? So, unfortunate.
It was a good goal, that, as well, because he had to kind of stretch backwards to get a head on it. It was a good goal.
Yeah, they were unfortunate, I think, Bournemouth on that one. But
Villa's still doing well, so I think it's not a bad
thing. They're in 4th place now, aren't they?
Yeah. And
I did say Villa would overtake Spurs.
Yeah, you did. Moving on to Chelsea and Brighton. I don't know if it was a surprising result. It's hard to say when you talk about these two teams at the moment, but it was a good game. Chelsea won 3-2. Dave, I don't know, do you have any opinions?
I mean, I didn't even get to see it because, like you said, it wasn't televised.
Did you watch
I was
any
surprised that we
highlights,
went.
like, or the goals?
I thought it would be closer. I was a bit surprised that we scored 2 goals fairly early on, which isn't like us because we've been struggling to score this year, but not within the last month. We've been scoring a lot, but letting a
Poor
lot in.
defending from Brighton, to be honest, I would say.
Yeah, they could be
poor
missing
defending
Dunk
from
in
Brighton.
fairness, so that's
Possible.
a factor that you have to take in. But both of them, I think, were set pieces as well, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah, corners or a free. One was corner, one was a free kick. I think very early on.
Yeah. One of which
I thought the penalty was a bit soft, to be honest.
Yes, I thought so as well.
What, the one on
Milner?
Mudryk?
You were talking about it last night.
Yeah.
That should it have been a red and stuff like that. I hadn't seen it by the time we were talking, but I watched it in Match of the Day 2 last night, and I thought that was actually quite harsh. I don't think he really does much to foul him there. I don't know.
No.
He does. He puts his knee in the way.
Nah.
He kind of uses his body to get in front.
Yeah, he was sort of shipping it ball.
It looks like he makes no attempt for the ball.
Just runs into him.
Yeah,
if you don't make an attempt for the ball, it's a penalty.
Yeah, but Mudryk didn't have control of the ball either. It was.
Yeah, but there was only going to be one winner in the foot race.
It definitely wasn't a red card, I don't think. I definitely don't think they could have gave him a red card for that.
No, because I think it's Chelsea. You'd have to be about half a metre in front of the line for it to be a goal scoring opportunity, wouldn't you?
Stretching as well.
Oh, he's blasted it over.
There was only there was 9 minutes added on, wasn't there?
Yeah.
João Pedro pulled one back in the 92nd minute, and it was the 90. It was the 100th minute. It was 100th minute when a ball came and Brighton crossed the ball, and it clear as day hit Caldwell on the head and went out for a corner, and the referee VAR. Oh, I'm just checking this, and honestly, I thought
the penalty.
I think did the ref give the penalty at first?
Yeah, he gave the penalty, and then
no.
And then went to the screen because the ref's got to make the decision because a bunch of old men couldn't hack the ref not making the decision. Even though
after decisions the last few weeks, it wouldn't have surprised me if it was given as a penalty, to be honest.
I've blatantly hit
his hand's in the non-natural position.
I think Chelsea-Brighton certainly wasn't the most exciting game. I think there was 2 other contenders for that. One of them being Liverpool 4. Probably was the most exciting game, I think, if you look at it. Liverpool beating Fulham 4-3 because they were getting beat 3-2 with 80 minutes? Was it 80 minutes that Fulham scored their third goal?
80th minute.
Liverpool managed to come back, equalise, then win the game before the end. So
87 and 88.
I don't think Liverpool played that well.
No, but all 4 of their goals were spectacular, though.
Four bangers, but like their attacking play just wasn't fluid at all. It wasn't like we'd normally see from Liverpool. Just Salah and Núñez
but that's
and
what
Diaz
makes me think they're real title contenders this year because
Yeah.
When they're not playing well, they seem to still win games.
Yeah.
And they pull it back. They seem to always pull it back as well. They've got that mentality.
Look at them against us with 10 men. Still a sore point, by the way, that one for me. But you know, you can't say that they didn't deserve to come back and beat us in that game because, you know, they played so well with 10 men and they went up the park and were causing us problems. So, you know, they're a good team.
Yeah, they've done well. Just saying 4 crackers, even though the first goal was given as an own goal.
Yeah, but, you know, that's not his fault, though. It was still a magnificent strike. And that wasn't the best, I don't think. I think McAllister's was the best goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That was a peach.
Anyway,
but yeah,
Enzo's goal.
Because that was decent.
We were getting beat 3-2, and then you bring on a defensive midfielder. You're getting beat 3-2, and you bring on a defensive midfielder, and he goes and gets you the equaliser a couple of minutes later with that kind of goal. It was a really good finish.
When it doesn't work, the fans moan at you. When it does work, the manager's a genius for doing it. It's one of them. But yeah, I mean, an expected win, but a more exciting game than probably Liverpool would like for it to have been, because they should have probably won that a bit more comfortable if they'd played a bit better. Man City, Spurs 3 each. That was a good game as well, wasn't it? I think most of us probably watched some of this at least.
I watched the first half, but I've caught the highlights.
Yeah, it was a good game. I think probably impacted by the fact that Spurs don't just sit back and that they do want to attack. And even then, they did kind of play counter-attack a little bit. So it's not as if they were playing this constant high line or anything against Man City. They weren't, but they were still, pushing forward and taking opportunities to push up the park when they get the chance.
But it is a thing that every time a team has taken it to City, they've been a bit rattled this season. There's a few teams
they're not that good at the back. Because Pep sets them up to think, well, we very rarely have to. It's all about running back and getting into position because we've got the ball all the time. So he's more interested in where his defenders are in the build-up than building them as a unit at the back to defend.
So you can see Guardiola pushing it really high.
I did think it was funny because Spurs had 4 full-backs and City had 4 centre-backs, and they could have just swapped a couple over and had a proper game.
It's one way of looking at it. But I think ultimately, though, I think maybe Spurs got a bit too much praise for this game, and Man City got a bit too much negative media because realistically, they should have probably won the game 6-3 if Haaland hadn't missed 2 sitters.
You missed
they were on
6 yards out.
I mean, literally, the best striker in the world, they missed one of these chances.
He's human.
He's human after all. Either that or his programming had broke down and they needed to reboot him slightly.
Like Dave said, he just needed a bit WD-40.
Spurs are always a bit of a bogey team against City as well, aren't they? And so you notice Spurs always put away the chances against. They don't get many chances against City, but when they do, they seem to take them. And that's been going on for a while.
Those things. But it keeps things interesting at the top of the league, doesn't it? And that kind of moves us on to really talking about the league table.
So we're just the last few seconds of that game, though. The referee. What the hell was he doing? That's when Haaland got fouled, but he's straight back up on the ball, and as soon as the ref seen him with the ball at his feet, he gave the arm signal to say play on. He plays the ball over the top. Jack Grealish is in on goal and he blows for the foul. What are you doing?
It was a crazy decision. It really was.
Absolutely diabolical.
And I think, but you can see the ref's face that he knows the second he does it, he knows he's fucked up. He knows he is fucked up. And the linesman, everybody knew that he'd fucked up when he did that. And the only thing I can think of what was going through his head was, this is going to be offside. It's not going to go where it wants, so I'm going to give them the advantage by bringing it back. And then he's played the whistle and then saw where it landed, went, oh shit. That was
what he should have done is because the linesmen are told you do not flag until the next phase of play. So you've got to just let it go.
Yeah, he could have waited till they were in possession, then blew the whistle. Like if it never went.
He was bloody miles onside.
But he just played that whistle too quick.
He was miles onside.
Honestly, he wasn't getting caught, was he?
No, he was way. That would have been 4-3 game over.
Probably. If he finishes it, there's no guarantee he finishes it, but probably. Yeah. So another bad refereeing decision to talk about. That's 2 this week we've been on already. And there was probably other ones we missed. I'm sure Wolves had some bad decisions at some point. I just missed them.
I wouldn't be surprised.
They tend to always do. So looking at the table, guys, I don't think there's massive changes from where we were last week looking at the table, but we still have a 3-way title race, in my opinion. I know you can't say Aston Villa are out it when they're only 1 point behind Manchester City, but does anybody realistically think that Aston Villa can consistently match the 3 of them as we go through the rest of the season?
No.
I don't.
Well, we'll find more out because it's Villa City next, isn't it? So.
And Rodri is suspended for that.
Yes,
and Rodri's suspended.
Rodri's going to be a massive miss.
The way Villa play, they're really going to miss Rodri.
So,
and Aston Villa will have a go at them as well. I mean, Emery will have a tactic, but at the same time, I'm worried that if Emery does we'll just play this high line. It's going to be like
they'll get slaughtered.
He's just going to keep breaking the offside trap and get.
I think this is actually going to be a barometer for City because. The games that they've sort of struggled in the last few weeks have all been against top teams where you expect it to be a bit chaotic. And every season City have like a little wobble this time of year and then they get back on it. But I think if Villa give them a good game, it sort of really shakes the aura a little bit for them.
I think there's an aura that you have to knock off these big teams, isn't there? You have to show people that they can be beaten.
If Villa have a go at them and get something out of it, it really does sort of prove that you don't have to pack the box against them anymore. You can press them and get it.
Here's the thing, though. Well, is it at Villa or is it at City's?
At Villa. It's at Villa.
Okay. It's a tough match. But I just don't think Aston Villa ain't winning the Premier League title. Sorry, it's like as much as we were doing well last year, I never thought for a second we were ever going to win it, and then it's the same with us this year. I think what you've got is you've got the top three there in terms of Arsenal, Liverpool, and City, and all of them are going to be, unless one of them falls out, are competing for the top three places together. And then for me, it's the next three teams that are competing for the next sort of one or two places: Villa, Spurs, and Newcastle. Although Man United are sitting in seventh at the moment, I mean, echoing what we said last week, it doesn't almost feel like that's a deserved place when you consider they've got a -1 goal difference as well, unless they suddenly, the form just transforms and they're playing brilliant again. I just don't see Man United challenging for a Champions League spot. Would you agree with that, Ryan?
It's going to take something to massively change to get us in contention. But it's very much, how does that look if we're sort of pulling performances out of our arse without still developing a style of play? I'm not really that fussed by getting Champions League because we're not going to win it. Yeah, fine, we might be able to afford a bit more signings, but I'm more worried about the actual changes that happen off the pitch this season rather than United's magically improving their form.
Yeah, and I think Brighton probably just not good enough this year to really push on from where they are. Most they could hope for is maybe try to get a Europa League spot. But honestly, I can't see them getting Europe this year, to be honest.
I think they're focusing on. Yeah, I think they're focusing on their own Europa League campaign, and I think that's fair enough, to be honest. Because
they're doing
well because they're through. They're through, so they're doing well.
Injuries don't get better. At some point, it would take one or two more injuries for us, and then even that first 11 that we've got is gone, and we've just lost Pope for 4 months. Maybe not the worst position to lose because we've got a bit of cover there, but if Newcastle were to lose, let's say Isaac get injured again, or Isaac and Gordon get injured, Newcastle ain't doing anything this year. They will start losing games. It's impossible. So you just never know what's going to happen. So
I'm quite comfortable with Dubravka being in goal.
I'm okay with it.
There was the rumours flying around that we're going to offer De Gea a contract. I'd rather keep Dubravka, thank you.
Yeah, I just think it's a waste of money, to be honest. I'd rather keep him as well. I guess we'll skip all the mid-table draws and like Chelsea, and go to the kind of bottom of the table. I mean, Everton's only 2 points off getting out the relegation zone.
Dave.
It's not my fault his team weren't worth talking about in terms of what they're going to do this year. Does anybody think Chelsea will do anything other than be mid-table by the end of this year?
I could see them scraping
top 8 place. I can say
a Europa League place.
Europa Conference. Europa Conference.
You think Chelsea could get top 7 for here? So let's see who's having to fall away for that to happen.
Well, it's not.
It's not 5 points behind.
At the moment, that means Newcastle, Villa, Spurs, Man United, all of them need to fall away. Now, Man United I'd give you, and Brighton as well. All of them need to fall away. And
Brighton and West Ham. I think Chelsea finish above them, and I think because if England get the 5 Champions League spaces, does it just push everyone down? So 6th and 7th the Europa League, and then 8th the conference. So I could see Chelsea squeak.
Yeah,
I think Chelsea get conference.
Yeah,
they'll
definitely. West Ham and Brighton are going to go deep into Europe this season. I can see Chelsea when it gets to sort of March, April.
Europe. I'm forgetting that. Plus, they could start getting their injuries back as well. Lavia comes back and Kunku comes back, and who knows? They might go out and buy what's his name, Austin or something like that in January, and just go like, there you go. There's one of the world's best strikers. Now go and get us some goals.
Yeah, they're not far off it. It just needs to click for them. You know.
Yeah,
you never know.
It'd be strange. A month ago, we were struggling for goals, but we were good in defence, and now we're crap in defence, and we're getting goals. So
Classic, no try to get the balance right in it.
Yeah, exactly. But hopefully something's starting to click together now. And
I think that happens to every team. I've seen times where, like, we went through that period last year where we were getting tons of 0-0s because no one could score against us, but we weren't scoring. And then you start scoring a few goals and you lose a few at the other end, and it does take a bit of time to get that kind of balance between attack and defence right. But overall, I don't think, I mean, in terms of expectations, you could say the money, there's big expectations. I personally think Pochettino's doing okay so far in terms of what my expectations were for Chelsea. It
looks like there's a plan. Yeah, I mean, when I compare us to United, I feel like we've got a bit more. I know they're ahead of us in the table, but I feel like we've got a bit more of a structure there than United do. We have more of a plan, but just not as clinical about it.
So, I mean, we're playing each other on Wednesday then, Dave. How do you see it coming?
I think you're going to McTominay 97th minute winner.
Yeah, but see, you guys have been saying that. You've been saying that for last month.
And also, we're not a top 9 team, and I know United are terrible against the top 9, so I think that probably says it. Are we home or away?
No, it's at Old Trafford.
It might. I think we've been better away.
I think you'll get a result at least. Because I think Man United don't suddenly turn up and start playing better football.
Yeah.
Suddenly this midweek, it's not going to happen.
We're more susceptible on the counter attack, I think, which could hurt us.
I think it could be a bit similar to the Champions League games where United will benefit a bit more from it being a bit more open. You know, Chelsea aren't really a compact team the same way United aren't, so it could end up being a bit chaotic.
10-10.
And that might suit United, but I don't.
I'd like that. Be worth watching.
I'm not expecting United to get results out of it. I'm not going to go into it and say, "Oh yeah, we'll definitely beat Chelsea." I think we're capable of it, but Chelsea are capable of it as well. I do know it's not going to be a draw because we don't draw in the league this year.
No, I mean, I bet it ends up being
first time for many.
Just because Ryan said that, I bet he absolutely cussed it.
No,
it ends up being
all over
0-0, 2 each or something like that. I'd rather a score draw than a 0-0.
I love the goals.
I mean, we've kind of run quite far on, so I'm not going to go through all the predictions and everything like that for next week because we're already kind of roughly at an hour here, and there's a double set of fixtures, so we've got Premier League games midweek, then we've got a full other fixture list at the weekend, so by the time we come back on Monday, we're going to have 2 lots of fixtures for every single team in the Premier League to kind of talk through. But any big ones you want to talk about that are coming up that you want to particularly
we'll need an hour and a half next Monday.
Maybe. Depends what happens in the games.
Well,
I mean,
obviously
Spurs versus Newcastle on Sunday is going to be a big one.
Yeah.
And Villa versus Arsenal on Saturday, they're going to be quite tasty, I think.
You've got Spurs West Ham on Thursday as well. Spurs West Ham Thursday.
Derby.
Yeah, London Derby.
That could be a tasty one.
We've got Everton, and it's away as well. 2 away games we've got, and
Chelsea got Everton on Sunday as well.
Yeah, we've got Everton.
Is it at home? Must be at home. Then
both Everton are playing home, both games, so that'll be tough for both teams. I think.
United are home both games.
Maybe it'll be easier for you. Who knows? But there's lots of things, but it would take us probably another 30 minutes to just go through and give predictions for them all, so I'm not going to waste all our viewers' time on that one. We'll be talking through all of those games next week. Anything else you guys want to talk about or mention before we wrap up for this week's edition of Watch More Football?
Don't think so. No. Just watch more football.
We're going to wrap it up for this week, guys, so just bye-bye from us. Thanks for watching again. Please like and subscribe. We'll be back next Monday probably for more, and we'll be discussing the fixtures, and hopefully you'll be back to watch us. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.